4 games in, just overall thoughts on the run game. I know Jonathan has talked about it not being where you guys wanted to be overall, but just your thoughts.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, when I think about my room with K-Ron and Nate taking most of the snaps, I think there's opportunities out there where we could do a better job when it comes to just trusting our reads. I talk about our aiming points in the run game. I talk about our reads when we're reading the defensive tackle, reading the defensive end. We're seeing safety rotation and just being a little bit more reactive and natural as opposed to pacing and waiting for these perfect blocks. I mean, at this point, anybody can run through wide open holes, but we got to be able to take advantage of the small spaces, the creases, and take advantage where we can hit those things and puncture the line of scrimmage and fall forward.
Is there any one common thread to the guys getting hit in the backfield on the draw, on the hit up? I mean, because it seems like there's been a lot of penetration, like that even for some reason it's Nate. It seems like every time that he just is getting the ball and has a guy or two in his face.
Yeah, I guess when you say is there a common thread or theme, I guess the common thread or theme is there's people in the backfield at times, and I think that's just. Part of the growing pains of trying to move faster and having, guys that were moving around, I think up front sometimes at the O-line. But at the end of the day, it's still going to come down to when we do get a chance to hit the line of scrimmage and we do have free access to the line of scrimmage that we're disciplined in our job. I'm probably less worried about the O-line, if there's a guy in the backfield or when the guy's in the backfield. I'm more concerned about when we have our opportunities, are we taking advantage of it? And that's what I've been focused on with my guys. You can't worry about that, but what you do need to worry about is when we're not taking advantage of the space.
What do you want him back to do when he takes the handoff, looks up, and he can shake hands with the defender?
Well, as always, you want to try to make that guy miss if you can. But, as we all know, watching the games, sometimes it's hard to do that. When the guy has you bear hugged up as soon as you get the ball, you got to protect the football and get ready for the next play. But when you say, what do you want a guy to do? I want him to get focused on the next play, because at that point, once the whistle's blown, we're on to the next play. That play is over with. So just being able to flush that play and then get my mind right to go through my process for the next run whenever it's called in.
What'd you say to Kayers after that fumble on the kickoff? It looked like he was, took it a little hard, but, come back in the fourth quarter and he was, obviously moving the ball on the ground for you guys late.
Yeah, I will say this. Running backs, sometimes it's interesting. I don't want to sense a panic when a guy drops the ball, because if a guy fumbles the ball, that's all they're thinking about. And I think it's not you go up to them and you say, hold on to the ball. Well, they know that part of it. The thing that you want to emphasize is, hey, think about your ball security. Were you in the contact zone? Did you have the ball chin? Was it double? And really going through that process that we started way back in the spring for him this summer and getting back on track to get his mind right. The one thing I always talk to these guys about just in football in general, it's not about the last play. It's not about the next play. The only play that matters is the play that you're in on right now. And that's what I wanted to talk to him about on the sideline. It's like, are you good? Because if you're not good, you're not going back in. And I think that was kind of that snap and clear for him. Now, everybody in the country that knows you want to hold on to the football. You know what I'm saying? So was that a great thing? No. But we do want to keep this kid encouraged and keep him confident. And we need him encouraged and confident right when we had to go back on offense. And that was what the most important thing was.
When you watch back that fourth quarter, what maybe changed? What looked different when you saw the film, maybe from the first three? Like I said, K-Ron was starting to get more of the runs that you want. Not necessarily 30-40, but 8-10 kind of yards grinding. Was it blocking? Was it?
I think it was a mix of everything. I think, the thing that when you ask me when you go back and watch the fourth quarter, I think overall it's just consistent play over the course of a game, over the course of a drive, over the course of a quarter. And that's where, my group, I talk to them about, it's about being consistent runners. It's being consistent in the protection game. We got to be able to be consistent in the pass game and being able to catch the ball out the backfield. So when you talk about going back to watch it, I think the lack of consistency is what hurt us in the second half, not necessarily the fourth quarter. The second half hurt us.
Has that been a surprise? Maybe not as much of, the running backs being involved in the passing game, or catching as many passes. I think K-Ron and Nate only have 6 catches so far this season. Is that given what the offense is? I mean, are you surprised in some ways that's the case?
I wouldn't say necessarily surprised. I just think we've had stuff called or in the game plan for those guys, and we haven't gotten to it or haven't needed to get to it. You think about the Maryland game. Marsh and some of those guys were having a big game. Prairie View, that game was that game, and then we had a couple opportunities. K-Ron caught the web. We had one in the end zone that we should have caught. It just has not been. I shouldn't say available. It just hasn't been called. Our number hasn't been called in the past game like you want to at times, but it's not for any reason. Just we haven't got to those plays.
Based on your experience, what dimension could that? Offer the offense, I guess, like the expanded dimension of having guys really involved in the passing game from a running back standpoint?
Great question. I just think overall, if there's opportunities for us to catch the ball out the backfield, and we catch the ball out the backfield at times that could be back-breaking for defenses, because it kind of cuts down if it's long yardage. It gives you opportunity for guys dropping off in zone. If we get the ball to the back, he has opportunities to go and run for the first down. So I just think it's another element to the offense outside of us just running and blocking that is sometimes forgotten about, and it can add a little bit of juice to the offense as well.
You talked about your running back's mindset. How much is coaching technique and how much is it coaching their motivation? Is that game by game? Is that day by day?
It's a great question. I think the motivation piece is every day. I think it's the understanding that we got boo-boos, we got, nicks and bruises, but at the end of the day, it's 4th and 1, and are you going to get the first down? I used the analogy about a week ago. Like there's some guys, the game on Saturday, if they say there's no trainers available and we got to go out there and play, there's some guys that are going to say, hey, I need to get taped and all this other stuff. Some guys are just going to grab the helmet and go. And you got to figure out what your mindset is going to be. And that's the thing that I'm constantly trying to talk to these guys about. Now, I love the trainers. I know we need them. I get all that. But my point is, sometimes it's not about the blocking. Sometimes it's like, okay, there's a guy in the backfield. I'm going to make that guy miss, and I got to go get this first down for Spartan Nation. And that's the mindset I'm trying to incorporate in the room, not just with Nate and K-Ron, but in the room moving forward. Because I think about that mentality. It's easy for anybody to run through a wide open A-gap hole. Anybody can do that. But at the end of the day, we have guys on edges. We got to be able to break the corner tackle when he's blitzing off the edge. We got to be able to set the linebacker up and slide off half a man and fall forward for 3 yards. That's playing running back.
What'd you see in the 4th and 1?
Let me get her because she's been asking.
Inconsistency has kind of been a theme of this team early on, but just with having more than half of the roster had turned over and all the new coaching staff and stuff, how much of that is kind of to be expected, and how do you fix some of those consistency issues when you guys are still working on just the O-line chemistry and all that?
Yeah, I think consistency is an interesting thing. For me, in my opinion, I can talk about my room. It's really pointing out, where we've gained ground, where we have gotten better, and then going back to the process of what it took to get there. Like I think about in the run game, the process that it takes is, okay, what are we doing in the pre-snap? We break down the pre-snap cycle with our assignment, our alignment, right? And then if it's the run game, what is our run keys? What's our aiming point? In the pass game, what's the protection? What's our rush threats? And just being able to go through that cycle over and over and over. I think being able to go through that discipline day after day after day is what produces consistency. And that's what I'm talking about even when he asked about the fumble. Okay, what is the process of how we hold the ball? You know what I mean? If we hold the ball high and tight. If we get in trouble, we double. And just continuing to beat that dead horse, for the lack of a better term, just to make sure these guys understand consistency is not luck. Consistency is doing the same grinding discipline things over and over, and then the results come after that.
What did you see on the 4th and 1 conversion with K-Ron? You spun out some contact earlier. What did you see in that whole thing?
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, that was not clean. I mean, the O-line washed it down. We got an unblocked corner, which we're running duo-type play, and that's the guy he has to run on. There's nobody blocking him, but at the end of the day, we know we got to get the first down. and he bounces off. He gets his spin moves, which he's worked on, obviously before he got to me, and that's something we work on in our individual, and then being able to run through an arm tackle. I mean, that's what it's about. At the end of the day, it's about getting that 4th and 1, and that's the guy we trusted in there to get that done. And I think between him and Nate, they have that mentality that when it's time for me to get this done, I will have to get it done.
You mentioned about the fumble. What about the decision making? Because obviously AZ had similar issues where he was coming out of the end zone a couple times. Kayron, looked like Sam might have been trying to get him to stop. How do you kind of deal with it? Because it's obviously a different thing from the physical side versus that decision making.
Well, the one that he fumbled, Sam was not trying to hold him in.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think that's why it's up to Sam to make the decision to keep him right, because in those guys' eyes, they're looking at the ball, they're doing their best, trying not to look at what the coverage unit is doing, because on kickoff return, you got to be able to run through the smoke. I didn't think he made a bad decision. I think we had an unblocked guy that he got hit by, which is not ideal in kickoff return. I think AZ is a young kid who has, the ceiling for talent is really high for him, and we just wanted to make sure we continue to help him build on his confidence. And that's the other part that people sometimes forget. These are college kids at the same time, right? And if you don't take care of these guys and keep them protected, you help them lose confidence early. It's hard for them to play moving forward. And there's kids I've had, that played as a freshman and they struggled early, and it takes a long time for them to get back, because we are in the business of people, and we're in business of building confidence and self-esteem through football.
So the Upback in that situation on the kickoff has more of a responsibility than maybe the returner. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's the off returner. Yep, the off returner is in charge of, because that guy's trying to catch the ball. He's like, hey, nope, stay in there, or we're rolling. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yep. So.
You've been around Jonathan. What do you think makes him so good at dealing with quarterbacks? Obviously, he had a lot of success even with DJ, and DJ unfortunately doesn't seem to be having as much success obviously at FSU. But how much do you think his experience, also obviously playing position, has contributed his ability to be able to kind of nurture quarterbacks?
I think that has a lot to do with it. I think his journey from playing, from being a walk-on quarterback to being, starting quarterback at Oregon State. I think his journey that he's had and some of the coaches that he's been around and learned from has a lot to do with it. I think most of all, the reason why you have a group of coaches that, moved across the country, and then some coaches that were at places that they were there for a long time and decided to come here, is because of the type of person that he is. And I think that's probably the biggest thing why we have faith. As he says, he likes this team. You watch these kids after we finished that game on Saturday, the disappointment and the hurt, that it matters to them. And they understand that we have to continue to build, and we're still going to keep chopping. And even with the inconsistency that we have at times, it's still going to be back to work. And I think that's something you instill, not from just being the head coach of a football program, but being a person that's relatable, a person that understands that it is up and down, a person that understands we're trying to build self-esteem and confidence through this game. And that's what makes him special when you talk about him being able to talk to the quarterbacks. It's not just the quarterbacks, it's really the coaches and everybody that's involved with this program.
Keith, we saw Nate make a great catch in the spring. When he got loose and the ball was flipped up in the air, did you think, we got this?
Yeah. Yep, I did. I think, it's football. It bounces. Sometimes it doesn't bounce your way. Sometimes it does. I think the one thing, I know I keep harping on, what the fundamental is 2 eyes, 2 hands, take your eyes to the catch. And I don't think we did that. I think, we got surprised that the ball was thrown to us and we didn't take our eyes to it. So that's something, I tried to do a little bit today as far as, giving you some of those passes where sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's soft. And all I can do is try to recreate the game as best I can when those situations come up. You can't be ready for every situation, but you can learn from the mistakes that do happen.
For everyone's favorite coach, I got one more. For a young quarterback, do you guys as a staff take a holistic approach to kind of keep? You mentioned about the building and keeping the confidence level high for Aiden, for anybody really, but for Aiden in particular. Do you guys take a holistic approach to everybody kind of being like, hey, keep your head up, keep doing these things.
Oh, I gotta ask you a question. I wasn't sure about your question at first.
Oh,
Yeah, I think,
Like, position room doesn't matter.
yeah, the position room, no. I mean, I think on top of me, I had other guys talking to K-Ron on the sideline, coaches, other players. I think, the subtle conversations, I know I've had with Aiden, I've seen other people have with Aiden. I think the burden, making sure the burden that he's trying to carry is not too heavy. But no, I think it is a holistic approach where everybody's involved. I mean, this is a family, and the guys that we're trying to take care of are the people inside this building. And that's the thing that is important to us as a staff and as a program as we continue to build this culture. All right. Thank you, guys. You guys have a good one.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.